Dr. Heilige Gemara. So yesterday we were trying to figure out exactly how it works when a woman says that my Ma'aseh Yadayim should be osir. How does it work? Because Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri said that if a woman says that my Ma'aseh Yadayim should be osir, her husband should be made for it. Why? Because in the future he might divorce her, and then the Ma'aseh Yadayim will be osir. The problem that we had is Shmuel, who paskins like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri here, also paskins that you cannot be makdish a davar shalai b'lo'olam. Her Ma'aseh Yadayim from 20 years in the future, if that's when the get would happen, that's definitely a davar shalai b'lo'olam. So how is it that Shmuel paskins like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri that Isra no would work? So the Gemara first tried saying that koinamois are different. Since koinamois are able to be chal, even though it's something that's not mine, so too koinamois could be chal on something that was a loy bala oilam. That was the argument that the Gemara first made. But the Gemara didn't like that teretz because Abaye said, Bishlama Adam Oiser Peiros Chaveri Alav Shari Oiser Peirosov Al Chaveri. The fact that I can answer my parents on somebody else or somebody else's parents on me, that's because I have a connection to it in one way. Either the parents are mine, or I could make anything also to me, even though it's not mine. However, to draw a conclusion from there that I could also make someone's parents mutter on somebody else, I can't make Moti's parents also on a Vigdor. I can make Moti's parents usher on me. I can make a Vigdor's parents usher on me. But I can't make Moti's parents usher on Moti, nor can I make Moti's parents usher on a Vigdor. Eliezer Dover, Shaloi B'Lo'ilam Al Chaveri. So how could you argue that I could make a Dover Shaloi B'Lo'ilam usher to somebody else? Mainly your argument might support you being able to answer a Dover Shaloi B'Lo'ilam on yourself. But how could this woman answer her Ma'aseh Yadayim of the future, which is a Dover Shaloi B'Lo'ilam, on her husband, which is somebody else? So we're back to the drawing board. How come? Why does Shmuel paskin like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, who says that a woman could answer for Ma'aseh Yadayim, which are a Dover Shaloi B'Lo'ilam? Rav Huna b'Rei Rabbi Yeshua. So Rav Huna b'Rei Rabbi Yeshua wanted to come up with another option, which the Gemara is going to slug up as well. By Meres, when she said, Yikachu Yodai Loisei, my hands, which are B'Lo'ilam, they should be also Lagabe what? Lagabe the Ma'asim to come out of them. So it's similar to Dekel Leperoisov. I'm selling you the Dekel, and you'll own in the Dekel its potential to make pairs. There are those who say this is worse than Dekel Leperoisov, because when you sell a Dekel Leperoisov, the pairs grow out of the Dekel. No one's going to argue that the Ma'asim of the hand grow out of the hand. It's a Ma'asim that she does. So it's not as strong as Dekel Leperoisov, where the pairs literally grew out of the Dekel, but she's answering what part of her hand, the part of her hand, what part of her hand, the part of her hand that has the potential that's going to make those future Ma'asim usher. That's what you want to do. Zakta Gemara, the Yadayim ha'is b'lo'ilam. So now we've avoided the problem of a Dover Shaloi B'Lo'ilam because her hands are in place. And the case of the hektish, where it doesn't work, that's because he didn't say, he wasn't makdish her hands. He can't, they're not his anyway. He was trying to be makdish her future Ma'aseh Yadayim. That's a true Dover Shaloi B'Lo'ilam. Her, it's her hands we're talking about. Frek the Gemara, v'chi amar ha'chi kacha. If she said, I'm being makdish my hands, Lagabe their Ma'aseh Yadayim of the future, are you going to say that's going to work? She can't be mishabed her hands because v'hamishabed yudei labal. Her hands right now are mishubed to her husband because he has her Ma'aseh Yadayim. Zok the Gemara, the Amra lechi migrisha. She'll say, I'm not selling you the part of my hand that's making today's malacha. I'm selling you the part of my hand to make tomorrow's malacha. Freik the Gemara that doesn't work either because hashto mias lo migrisha. Right now, she has not yet received a get. And the Ran actually comments directly on this shaila. The Ran says, "The Amr lechi migrisha mishum hachi." You want to argue, mahani shari pirsha dvarim to yochal nidra bizman sheroy lalach. So the Ran learns that her hands are meshubah to her husband. True, but if they're meshubah to her husband, only her hands are only meshubah to her husband for the ma'aseh yadayim that they produce now while she's married. Her hands are never meshubah to her husband for the ma'aseh yadayim that she might produce after she's married. So the Ran learns that the question was here, but she didn't say that. But she didn't say that here. If she just says that my ma'aseh yadayim should be usher from now, if she just said my ma'aseh yadayim should be usher for their ma'asim, well, that means now as well. And unless she speaks out, dekel peroisav, I'm telling you the dekel now, for the future payers, it wouldn't work. So if you want to say that she actually spoke out beferish, the Amr lechi migrisha, and therefore it should help, Zok to Gemara still shouldn't help, because Hastemios loy migrisha. And the Ran says, and therefore when we ma'id yichiyamra hachi mahanya. Since right now she's not divorced, right now, who said it will work when she's makdish or yadayim themselves? Klemar tiratzta l'man da'amar adam makdish davar shalei b'loy. If you hold someone can be makdish davar shalei b'loy, you could say that it will work. To b'hay lishna dika amra l'didei v'adei mahani. If she says I'm being makdish my hands l'gabi their future ma'aseh yadayim, that's a case that would work if you hold someone can sell payers, for instance. Dekel peroisa. There it would help if she specified. But what about Avalaman Damar? Ein adam makdish davar shaloi b'loilam. But we're working with Shmuel, who's paskening by hektish that someone cannot be makdish davar shaloi b'loilam. Afilu amr hachi heich mehani. How would it help to sell her, to aser her ma'aseh yadayim, to aser her hands now for the ma'aseh yadayim of later? That's still a davar shaloi b'loilam. So Amr Rab Eila said, let me tell you the argument. Uma ilu oimer lechavera sada zu shani moichala. If you had a field, and before you sell a field, while you're still full owner of it, you tell your friend, you say, Ruvain, I'm going to be selling you this field now. I'm about to make a transaction to sell you this field. This field that I'm selling you, I have full intention of buying it back from you. And when I do buy it back from you, I want to be kodesh. Don't you say that would work? So if that would work, why doesn't it work as well when she wants to be putting an iser on her hands now for the ma'aseh yadayim in the future? Here too, you're being makdish a field, but you only be makdish it later. That's a good aura. And more than that, right now the field belongs to me. So here, right now, her ma'aseh yadayim don't belong to her. So the Ran asks, what is the comparison? Here, I own the field fully now. By the woman, she's making another while her ma'aseh yadayim are currently mishubah to her husband. So why is there a comparison? And the kasha that I just asked is exactly Rabbi Yirmiyah's kasha, but Rabbi Eila has to make sense as well. Zokt the Ran that at this point Rabbi Eila feels that a woman has a mila, because even when a woman is married, she's not owned totally by her husband. She's still independent. She has her own goof. So therefore, we want to be able to compare it to the case where I sell a field. I actually own the field fully now. It's before I sold it. True. But after you sell it, you don't own it at all. Her, at least, she continues to own herself. So therefore, Eila feels it should be comparable to say that if I could be makdish field now, before I sell it, even though I'm about to sell it, that's the same or similar. He actually argues it should be even easier for this woman to ask her ma'aseh yadayim, because at no point is she completely niknet to her husband, sai b'guf and sai b'yad. And so Zok to Gemara, I still don't like that comparison, because Maskav Rabbi Yirmiyah midomi sodazu shani moichalach hashta b'yadei. Right now, when he's trying to create a hektish, it's fully in his hands. He has not yet sold it. But Isha b'yada lahakdish ma'aseh yadayim Could you argue that a woman is in her hands to be makdash her ma'aseh yadayim? A woman's ma'aseh yadayim currently belong to her husband. So we're stuck again. How could you explain how this woman can answer her ma'aseh yadayim of the future? Zakt Gemara, halei dami ela la'omer lechaverei sada zu shemacharti lach. This field that I sold to you, she'ekchena mimcha taktish. This field that I had already sold to you, when I buy it back from you, that's when it's going to be kaddish. Mi kata, it surely wouldn't work. There you can't be makdash. If I sell you a field, I can't tell you that when I buy back the field from you, it's going to be kaddish. That's what you would compare to this woman, and therefore I would argue b'davka that the woman cannot. Not only don't you have a right from anywhere that a woman could answer her ma'aseh yadayim in the future. To the contrary, I could say that it's similar to this case where you surely cannot. So therefore, we're now making an argument against Shmuel to say that she would not be able to be makdash her ma'aseh yadayim in the future. Rav Papa. So Rav Papa comes to the rescue with another suggestion. Midami. You can't say that it's as bad as that case where I don't even own this field and I'm trying to be makdash. Because Gabizvina psiko milsayu by a sale, he's totally cut off from it when he wants to make this neder. Gabe isha mi psika milsa. She's still connected to herself. She still owns her guf. Halay dami. You can only compare this woman who is answering her ma'aseh yadayim I owe you $100,000, and because I owe you the $100,000, I gave you a lien on my field. When I pay off the lien, taktish, I'm making it kodesh. There, everybody agrees it would work. I'm owning the field. You have a shibud on it. I could still be makdash. Mila kacha, surely that would work. This woman, she owns herself. She's just like that field. It's a mashkin, but she's meshubed to her husband. Surely she's meshubed now, but surely she could be makdash for ma'aseh yadayim after that shibud is over. So therefore, we have a raya, in fact, that it should work. But that also the Gemara slugs up. You cannot compare the two. If someone has a lien on my field, at any minute, I'm in total control as to whether or not I want to pay it out. That surely is a logical argument to say that I can be makdash now. Isha b'yada l'skarish. What can she force her husband to divorce her? So she can't say, when I eventually am free, I'm answering my ma'aseh yadayim on you. She has no control over that. He could keep her forever. You could only compare it. A field that I have that is lien to you for 10 years, and it's not some lien to you. I can't be paid it before 10 years. In other words, you're going to be guaranteed to be able to benefit from this field for 10 years. When I eventually redeem it from you after the 10 years, taktish. Mila kacha, wouldn't it be kodesh? So let's compare her to such a situation where right now she is married, she doesn't have her ma'aseh yadayim, similar to the case of the field where right now for the next 10 years it's tied up, but after the fact, it's in the future, after the fact, just like the hektish works, so too, when she gets divorced, in the future, those ma'aseh yadayim, which will be hers, should also be kodesh. That's not even a good comparison. Because Matchka Florabashi, Midami, taught some kids. There, it's a 10-year deal, but after the 10 years, we know I'm getting the field back. So there, we're guaranteed that I'm getting the field back. Even before I get the field back, I have enough of a grasp in it to be able to be makdash. Isha, mi isla kitsusa. Is it a 10-year marriage? Does she know that in 10 years, her ma'aseh yadayim will be back? Maybe she will never get again. And those ma'aseh yadayim will never belong to her. So we still don't understand why is it that she can ask for her ma'aseh yadayim. I hear. What if we see it coming? I hear. Ella Amar Rashi. Anupshat shiny kainamois. Kainamois are stronger. The kedushas haguf dami. They have a din of kedushas haguf, not of kedushas dami. And normally you say ein hektish moitzi midei shibud, but hektish of a kedushas haguf is moitzi b'dei shibud. Shiny kainamos the chikidushas aguftami uchid Rava, and we can use the principle of Rava. Dama Rava hektish chametz v'shichur mafkimi de shibud. Hektish means if, or shibud means, what if I have an animal that's mishubah to you? It's rented to you, or you have a right to collect from it. I gave it to you as a mashkin, and I'm akdish it. Kedushas haguf, Rashi says. Rashi holds this only applies to kedushas haguf and not kedushas damim. And I said, this animal, harezu oila. You don't have that mashkin anymore. That goes to hektish and it becomes an oila. Rashi says that if I said I want this animal to be sold and with it by bricks, I gave it kedushas damim, that wouldn't be moitzi midei shibud. But kedushas haguf is moitzi midei shibud. Chametz as well. What if I have chametz that's lean to a guy? I owe it to a guy for a choiv, and Pesach comes. That chametz becomes aser v'hana, and it's no longer mishubah to the guy. The guy has no right to it, and I'll have to pay the guy back with a different source. Or a shikhr. What if I have an eved that is owed to somebody? There's a lien on this eved to somebody, and I'm a shachar the eved. Mafkim de shibud that breaks the shibud. So therefore, Zok to Gemara, you know why Shmuel holds like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri? Because a kohenim is like kedushas haguf, and even though her ma'aseh yadayim are meshuvah to her husband, since the hektish is moitzi midei shibud and kainamus is like kedushas haguf, it actually overrules the shibud. That's why she could ask her ma'aseh yadayim in the future. Frek the Gemara, if you're telling me that a kohenim can break a shibud, what's up as the ma'aseh yadayim in the future? Well, then the moment she could even say that my ma'aseh yadayim right now should be usher. They're meshubah her. You just said that hektish of kedushas haguf will be moitzi midei shibud. So why does Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri say the reason why you should be made for her nether? Not because of now. Now her nether is useless because you could be made for it. Because it's meshubah to you. I'm sorry, because it's meshubah to you. No need to be made for it. But be made for it because later on, after your marriage, if her ma'aseh yadayim is no longer meshubah to you, that's what you need to have hafara for. The way we're explaining it, even for right now, you need to have hafara. Zok to Gemara, the Shayla had to read the Girsa. The Bach changes the Girsa. The Bach says that what the Gemara should be saying here is Ein Chanami. Almua Rabbanan l'shibudu the Baal ki heichid l'tikdish mahashta. Even though normally midaraisa hektish is moitzi midei shibud, and technically her nether should work right now, the Rabbanan strengthens her shibud, and midarabanan we don't let her isser chal. Midarabanan we take it away from her, and we do not let her isser bichal. The oid, and that our Mishnah says. Now the Bach takes out the oid. The Bach just says that's what it means. But the Gemara that is Garsh void, the oid, and even if you don't hold like that, or even if you don't hold Almur Rabban Shibudim, still you still have a second svara of Shema Yigrashena. Maybe he'll give a get. So let's quickly see the Ram on how he explains this, because this is a big issue of hektish chametz v'shikra moishe b'nei shibud. Zok the Ram, the Amar Rava hektish could go in also shari apoitiki if he made a shor a mashkin to pay off a chayv, and then you went and made it hektish kush leguf. Machfia oisoy hektish shibud hamalva. It breaks the shibud of the malva. And therefore, the Malva will have to find some other asset to collect from. This ox is going to heck. A carbon, and it'll even be kosher for a carbon. And you won't say that since it's meshubah to somebody else, it can't be a carbon. We'll have a gezel. It was not even gezel. Kivin to have a kanile el gavayna ba'am. The Balchayv only had a schus in it to mom. That he lost. Zoktiran v'davka kedushas aguf. This applies only to kedushas aguf. Ava kedushas domim. But if it's only kedushas damim, where mafka shibud would not take away the shibud, and that's what Rashi says. There's actually a bit machlekes Rashi and Tosfos about it. Zok the Gemara, va'oid shema yigrashena kamar mehashta nami kodesh. From the kedusha will leave michal now. The kohenim mafkia shibud lebal. The kohenim would take away the shibud of the baal. So the Gemara asked, "Oy bazoi, why do you need shema yigrashena?" Zaktranu l'chachim shaloimer the abu rabbanon l'shibud the baal v'oidet hachtov. You might say that when did the rabbanon give strength to the shibud to prevent the neder from being chal. That's only by the tachtov. The shavu kalakech kama v'loy kamilva. Afilu achi yafer shema yigrashena. He could still be made for shema yigrashena. V'hanu taima the house v'hanu the house on parak alpha p parak almu rabban l'shibudei. So what happened is this Gemara is a repeat of a Gemara in Ksubis. In Ksubis, the Gemara answers differently, which is what the Bach injects over here, that Almu Rabbanon L'Shibudei and V'hachal Itkele. Here, according to the Ran's Girsa, unlike the Bach, it doesn't have it here. What the Ran wants to learn is they're both the same shot. The shot is, even if you want to say that Almu Rabbanon L'Shibudei the Baal, but the Tachtov, even though you will say that Rabbanon protect him from this nether now, and they make his shibud stronger, that even the Kedushas Aguf wouldn't work to be Moichi B'dei Shibud, but it would go back to its natural state after he divorced her, and there the nether would be chal, and it would even be able to be chal now for later. Gewaltig. Okay, let's see the next Mishnah. So at the end of the day, shot in our Mishnah, according to Shmuel, who holds that a person could not be maksid over shlei b'loilam, what she's doing here is she's really being makdish her hands now for a malacha. And although the Rabbanon made his shibud extra strong and prevent the hektish from being chal, even though it should be able to be moitzi midei shibud, they only strengthened his shibud lagabe his ma'isidaim now. But lagabe the ma'isidaim later, the Rabbanon will let that Isser be chal, and therefore, in order to get rid of the Isser for the ma'isidaim later, he has to be made for the nether, according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Okay, gewaltig. Zok the Heilige Mishnah weiter. Nodra ishtoi v'sover shenodra bitoi. Can you imagine he's standing in the next room and he hears someone who sounds just like his wife and just like his daughter, because they sound alike, who make a nether. So he thought that it was his wife. I'm saying it was his wife, but he thought that it was his daughter. Or nodra bitoi v'sover shenodra ishtoi. Or vice versa. It was his daughter's nether, but again, their voices were similar. He thought it was his wife. Or Nadra b'Nazir, v'savish Nadra b'Karbon. She made herself into a Nazir. He thought she was makabel to bring a carbon. Maybe he didn't hear well exactly what was said. Or Nadra b'Karbon, v'savish Nadra b'Nazir. Or Nadra mita'enim, v'savish Nadra b'Nanav. She made a nether from figs, and he thought she prevented herself from eating grapes. Or vice versa, Nadra b'Nanavim, v'savish Nadra b'Nateinim. Hareza yachshav v'yafeh. His afara, if he made the afara under a wrong understanding, under a wrong pretense, the afara isn't good, and he will have to be made for again once he finds out what in fact the real nether was. I'm sorry?
Why would you think it is a good afara?
Why would you think it's a good afara? We're going to have to learn the Ran on it, because there could be svaras to say that when he's made for everything. And the Gemara is going to also discuss possibilities where she was neither from Ta'anim, right? And he thought she was neither from Anovim, and he was made for her. He didn't say, I'm made for your Ta'anim nether. I'm made for your nether. So he didn't have specific kavanah, dafka to Ta'anim and not Anovim, but he made it under a false pretense. That's what the Gemara is going to end up saying. Okay, Gavaltik. So once again, I'm sorry for being so late. I feel guilty because even though we finished Omid, we missed out some important runs that I would have loved to talk about. So I apologize. I'll just ask. I asked Mati. I don't want to ask everybody, but Mati, can you call me at 6:45, 5:45 tomorrow, just in case? I figure maybe call me at 5:45, just in case. Both of you call me because I slept right through my alarm. So I'm really, really sorry.
Okay. See you soon.
So Chaim Fear, whenever I would sleep in, he would, for the next 3 days, he would call my house. I'm sorry, he would call my cell phone at 10 to 6 to make sure I'm up. And now,
hey Thierry, remind me to call Yosy tomorrow morning at 5:45.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, have a wonderful, wonderful day.